What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Revelers Rule podcast, where we celebrate life loudly and lively. And I'm very excited today to have on a very special guest. I have been following his content for a while on TikTok, Instagram, and all over the place. He's a very funny man. You may know him if you are on TikTok. You may know him as old Honk Snort Cletus, or exactly, or Vice President JD. In case you change your mind, take a Vance on me. He is a very, as I said, he's a very funny guy. Welcome, Rothschild's Crabman 732. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. I am recording from my back porch here in Chicago, Illinois, because we're puffing on these bad boys, and I don't want to smoke up my brand new apartment.
No, I totally understand that. Absolutely. What are how do they feel about like smoking indoors? Is there some kind of clause you have to sign or whatever?
I think it's like I'm honestly not 100% on the laws, but I think it's like it's been banned at like bars and public places and whatnot. But I think if it's like a private residence, you can smoke inside.
Okay.
We rent the place, so you know that's up to the landlord. But I've never really been a fan of smoking stogies inside your house, just because as much as I love puffing on these bad boys, and I will just so you're not freaked out by it, I do have a stutter. It does come and go. I'm not glitching. You know, I'm not pulling an Elon Musk right now.
You haven't been snorting the ketamine.
No, I'm not. I'm not. The only Special K I enjoy is for breakfast. But yeah, I don't. As much as I enjoy puffing on stogies, I don't like to. You know, I don't. I'm sharing this space with another person.
Yes, you are. Your lovely wife.
Okay.
So
yes, I am puffing on an Alec Bradley Black Market. Been one of my go-to guys.
Yeah, it's a good cigar. I haven't
a number of years.
I haven't had it in a good minute, but it is a great cigar. I love almost pretty much everything from Alec Bradley. The Magic Toast, I love the Prensado. Those are a couple of my favorites. It's been a good while since I've had a Magic Toast, but Prensado, my dad always has those stocked in his humidor. So whenever I go over to his house, I always have one. So, which is pretty nice. So for those who are not familiar with your content, like, tell us a little bit about how, like, what you do, what you got started doing. I found you first on TikTok, and I think like the first thing I actually saw was the old Honk Snort Cletus sketch that you do, which is fucking hilarious. I gotta say,
I haven't done one in a minute, but yeah, I do love Cletus. I enjoy doing JD Vance more than Cletus because I don't know if you can tell from looking at me, but I'm not exactly a physically fit individual. There was, if you're not familiar, which I know you are, but if you're not familiar with my Honk Snort Cletus character, he is a hyper satirical version of how I believe MAGA sounds, like not just conservatives, but specifically MAGA conservatives. Like the far right. He's a very he has been described as a combination of Alex Jones and Yosemite Sam, which
that is on point. Very on point.
A higher praise I could never hope for. That is yeah.
It's like frogs are gay, you know.
Yeah,
pretty much.
We're putting the liquid in the sour cream to turn all the deer pansexual. Yeah. But there was one time I was doing the character. I was filming it, and it was at the end of a particularly long take. I do everything in chunks, and I try to do it all in like one breath without blinking. But there was one, and I don't exactly remember which video this was, but it was at the end of a very long rant, and after I hit cut, I swear to God, I was seeing spots. I had to sit down, and every time I do do one of the videos, which always has me going like, oh,
Exactly.
I lost my earpiece.
Dude, I'm already having more fun on this podcast than any of the others I've already done. This is awesome.
But like, I always get people in the comments saying, dude, you need to take a break. Your face is getting really red. And when I first saw that, I'm like, I got a little defensive. I'm like, hey, worry about yourself, bro. But after doing the character for well over a year, I'm like, they're just looking out for me. So that's why I enjoy. Yeah.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like I can relate.
Oh no, you're fine.
I do voice work, and there are times when God, it's hard for me to keep breath control properly because I'm trying to do a deep voice and I forget to breathe. And I have to take a sharp inhale, and I have to stop for a second. I'm like, I'm sitting down. I feel like I just ran around the block. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Please. Sorry, it's your show, man.
I don't even remember what I was going to say next. But no.
Before I go into my history of content creation, I'll say this: I do appreciate the doors that Cletus has opened, which I call him Cletus. Honestly, Cletus was a placeholder name. Someone asked me, who do you call this guy? And I'm like, I don't know, Cletus, old honk snort Cletus. And it's one of those things where it's like, my thought was, I'll give him a better name later, but this dude's Cletus. He's Cletus. That's who he is.
Exactly.
And this is the hat, by the way. I have 2 or 3 of them. Because it's a good hat.
It is a good hat. It works.
I also wear this hat. I don't know if you're a Gravity Falls fan. I wear this hat when I cosplay as Seuss.
Okay. Yeah, no, my kids watch Gravity Falls. They love that show.
Yeah. Seuss is, besides the point. So to answer your question, sorry, the ADHD is going strong, and I need to refill my meds.
Okay.
Yeah. This is me not medicated. And I don't know if you can believe it, but I'm not on Jack right now.
I'm on antidepressants. That's it.
I got to get those refilled too. It's funny. You need the ADHD drugs to help focus, but you also need to be able to focus to refill the ADHD drugs. Yeah,
it's a vicious cycle.
But okay, so sorry to answer your question. I started on TikTok in early 2019, and if you were to scroll back to the early years of my content creation journey, you would see a man throwing every piece of lunch meat he has against the wall and just seeing what sticks. Yeah.
I love it.
There's a lot of misses,
Oh yeah. I mean, unfortunately I don't utilize TikTok as much as I should, because I know that if I really use it to its full potential, I could probably do better in terms of because my views are crap. My views are terrible in terms of how many people view my content.
Don't be unkind to yourself. I won't accept it. I won't accept it.
I'm not being unkind to myself. I'm taking shots at the algorithm, because there's been times where I would really be on it. I'd be posting at least every other day, trying to make sure that I'm getting content up there, so that way the algorithm will at least see me. But instead it's just I might get one where there's 500-600 views within a day, and then there's one that I'll put up and it's almost the exact same kind of thing, and it'll get 20 views. I don't understand how it works, but it's
like the algorithm. It's I'm actually glad I mentioned my ADHD already, because that is the best one of the a quality analogy I can use to describe the TikTok algorithm. It I don't even think it knows what it wants. All right. Because I'll tell you, I am grateful for the success that TikTok has afforded me these many years. All right. But I'll be honest, even to this day, I still get very frustrated with the algorithm. I'll put up a video that I put a lot of work into. I'm talking lighting, editing, like writing a script, um,
Mm-hmm.
makeup, especially for the JD Vance videos, makeup, working
I
on
love that for
music,
those.
like all like a genuine production. I
Yeah.
will put in like legitimately hours of work on a 2 or 3 minute video and then upload it. And if I'm lucky, it'll get 10, 20,000 views, which for somebody with more than 500,000 followers, I mean, it's not
Yeah,
bad, but it's also not great. But I'll also, and that's if I'm lucky, I put up videos just like that that barely cracked 1,000 views. Um, and then on the opposite end of that, there was a video a month ago. It was something about who's the White House press secretary, the one with the huge like there's a woman who makes videos. Take two. There's a woman who makes videos about her videos. There it is. There's a woman who makes videos about her,
Yeah.
and she always has like huge crosses around her neck. Um,
I'm trying to think.
yeah, right. It's like right there.
The,
But
yeah.
anyway, she was making a comment during the first thing with when Pete Hegseth um, messed around with Signal the first time. It's like it's it's like that old meme. It's like if I had a nickel for every time Pete Hegseth included an unsecured person on a secure chat, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. Uh,
You're holding a kazoo, Pete.
yeah.
I
um,
love that one. That's my favorite.
that was one of my that was back when it was still like really fun. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy doing JD Vance, but now that he's actually the vice president, it's like sometimes I'm making a video, I'm like, man, this guy affects policy. This guy has control of stuff, man. This is
Oh man.
ugh. But anyway, focus. Um, but she was talking about the guy from the Atlantic, and he was like, "Would you rather trust Pete Hegseth or the guy from the Atlantic, whose name is also escaping me?" Good job, buddy. And I just made this video, not joking, just in the alleyway behind my
Mhm.
apartment at like 10 o'clock at night, lit by a street light, just ranting into my phone about this, about like I would sooner trust a fox in a hen house before I trusted Pete Hegseth. And it's just a whole like 2.5 minute rant. I uploaded that at like 10:45 at night.
Yeah.
Currently, it's at almost like 900,000 views. I
That's
put
nuts.
no work into this. I put no no work. I ranted into my phone. I
Hmm.
I I added captions. That was the only work I did. I trimmed down the clips. I trimmed the
Yeah.
fat and I added captions. That was the only editing I did on this video. No work and like almost 1 million views versus videos I put legitimate like blood, sweat, and tears into that
Yeah.
just tanked. Mm.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't get it either because like there are videos I did like years ago that like barely crack 50 views on YouTube. And because YouTube is a whole other beast and it's a
Yeah.
bitch sometimes, especially with cigar content because they've shafted anybody who does cigar, alcohol, or any kind of but for some reason I don't feel like they're shafting the ones who do cannabis content, which good for them, but at the same time it's like what the fuck. But
Mhm.
and then there's other videos that I do where I'm like I'm just doing a review of a product and there was some production value that went into it. And then like I remember I did a review of a humidor, which is one of those tall humidors, and it's standing here to my
Mhm.
right. I got like within a month I got like over 1,000 views, and then there's other videos that I like work really hard on and they barely get seen, and I'm like, where's the crossover? Where's the difference? What do I do to kind of, capture lightning in a bottle, so to speak? And it's just like, it's really a roll of the dice. That's really all it is.
By the
And
way,
it's
folks who are listening right now, if you enjoy this content, subscribe to the Revelers Rule podcast, Patreon. Subscribe to the Revelers Rule Patreon. I'm assuming you have a Patreon.
I do not actually. I should get one though. I should.
Okay,
I totally should.
You can cut that part out, and then when you get a Patreon, use this. Subscribe to the Revelers Rule Patreon for more content and good cigar related stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Use that whole thing.
No, for sure. I will. Absolutely. But talking about cigars, when did you start? Like, how long ago did you start smoking cigars? How long have you been a cigar connoisseur, as it were?
Well, it actually goes back to when I was in college. I was in a fraternity. I went to Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I was in a fraternity, Tau Kappa Epsilon. Mm-hmm. And my big brother in my fraternity is a legitimate cigar aficionado.
All right.
Before then I had dabbled in them, but he was the one who actually turned me on to these bad boys and said, you find a good one. If you find one you like, it's an amazing thing. So since then, ironically, I actually turned my dad onto smoking stogies. Now he does it very, very infrequently,
right?
But because he's a golfer, so I'm from Houston, Texas. So that's where my father and my mother and most of my family lives. He plays golf. And I don't know if you've ever been to Houston, like to Southwest Texas.
No, sadly.
It's basically a giant swamp. It's a bayou. It's a swamp. It's very humid. And especially in the summertime, if there was a big storm, even a week prior, it is mosquito central. It is mosquito central. God. And he discovered, quite by accident, smoking these bad boys while you're golfing keeps the mosquitoes away.
It's a good repellent.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been smoking cigars since about 2008, 2009. And I don't do it very often, because especially in a city like Chicago, where you can only smoke outside, really, unless you're in a lounge, where it gets really cold outside. But it's an occasional treat. Every once in a while, I'll treat myself.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's become a lifestyle for me, just because, like, kind of the reverse of what you said. My dad was the one who got me into cigars. And this was like right around 2003. Like, my dad hadn't been smoking them for very long, but I knew he smoked them. I never, ever wanted to smoke cigarettes because my grandpa smoked them and that's how he passed. And so I was just like, never want to touch cigarettes, but my dad smoked cigars. And, after learning a little bit, I'm like, hey, it was like my 19th birthday. And I said, hey, I want to buy my first cigar. So he took me to a lounge, bought me my first one. And it's a story that all my listeners know. So I'm giving you the severely condensed version. But,
no problem.
But no, and kind of like what you were saying, for the longest time, I smoked them very infrequently. I might only smoke a couple a year. And then after a while, I was smoking one every couple months or so. And then it was like 2018, which was like one of the craziest damn years of my life. It was, it involved a house purchase, a birth, and a death, all within like a month.
Oh yeah, man. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah, we bought our first house, and then my wife was pregnant with our second, and he was on his way. We closed in January of 2018. February, middle of February, our nephew passed, and then I appreciate that. And then 11 days later, my youngest was born. So it was a whirlwind of like the beginning of the year, from good to horrible to good. And it was just like, and then cigars were a comfort for me. And I started smoking them more and more frequently. I would go out on my my patio, which I finally had a patio, my own covered patio, which was wonderful. And I would just smoke cigars as often as possible. My wife wasn't crazy about it, but I'm like, this this is my meditation. Let me have this. And it was something that I got into so frequently that I started doing cigar content on social YouTube, and here we are. So it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. Cigars can be, they bring people together, as evidenced right here. And it's a wonderful thing to have a conversation over. Some of my best memories are from having a cigar.
That's awesome, dude. I always liked cigars for the camaraderie aspect. One of my favorite things to do with friends is just hang out, puffing on a stove in either a lounge or a backyard somewhere, or hanging out with my dad, sipping on either a nice rum or a nice scotch, and just shooting the shit, puffing on a stogie. And one of the things I both love and hate about these things is I am a perpetual performer, and these are one of the best props you will ever have in your entire life.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's like so many times, especially when I'm with my comedy friends, and we like, because when you're hanging out with your fellow comedians and improvisers, especially, and you're just shooting the shit, that's when the best bits come out. And if I'm puffing on one of these bad boys, I always pick one person to go up to. It's like, you know what, son? I'm telling you, you got the goods. You got the goods inside you. I'm seeing something I like and something. Hey, well, I know people. I'm connected. I can make things happen for you. You just gotta sign on the dotted line.
Dude, that's like a combination of like Winston Churchill, and I'm trying to think of somebody else who's like really eccentric. But yeah, dude, I totally. I love when I saw that post on your socials like a couple weeks ago. I thought it was great because it was funny, encouraging.
Oh yeah, I did that at my friend's wedding.
It was a fantastic prop, and one of my favorite things because I'm going to assume you're a Schwarzenegger fan.
Yeah. I like his stuff in the 80s and 90s, but I'm also a big fan of his. Look, I'm not big on like motivational speakers, so I do like Schwarzenegger because it's not just. I'm not a big like motivational speaker kind of person because, especially someone who is like me. I have depression. I have anxiety. I am overweight. I have listened to a lot of motivational speakers, and so it becomes pretty easy to pardon my French, but spot the bullshit. What I love about Schwarzenegger is that when he does those kind of motivational posts, I don't know. It feels like it's more from the heart. Like during the election when he was talking to MAGA people who were like following Trump. I'm not trying to like get too political here, but one of the things he talked about was like he grew up in Austria during a time when a lot of the older men in his life were veterans of the Second World War. Were like ex Wehrmacht soldiers. And he said you had a lot of people who walked around feeling like losers, feeling like they lost, and they internalized that. And when you internalize that feeling of just shame, of self-loathing, it becomes very easy and very, very, very possible, almost commonplace to externalize it in, let's say, less than appropriate ways. And he was talking about how the men that he grew up around were oftentimes alcoholics, substance abusers, domestic abusers, because they put so much of themselves in this, and so much of their identity into this organization, this this cause that ended up being for naught.
Yeah.
And you know, he just so many times he speaks from the heart, and like
Yeah.
he would talk about people who helped him get to where he is. Like he was a bodybuilder, and
Yeah.
he was fortunate enough to meet people in Hollywood that helped him get where he is, where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. But yeah, long story short, I do like Schwarzenegger. I feel like he speaks from the heart.
Well, I bring that up because like, and I've done this on a couple of other podcasts and shows that I was on. Like one of my favorite movies of his, it was actually one that bombed, is Last Action Hero, because it's so
I
meta.
love Last Action Hero.
Because he pokes fun at himself in such a way that it's like, it's thankfully it's not ironic. He's doing it very intentionally. And one of my favorite bits is where him and the main character, played by Austin
Yeah.
O'Brien, they go to the mansion and they're confronting Benedict, played by Charles Dance. And
Oh yeah, such a great villain.
he is, and I love how he says, if you're a villain, he'd be me, thing. But how Jack Slater, Schwarzenegger's character, like, after threatening him a little bit, Charles Dance says, I'm going to sick the dogs on you. Any questions? And he's like, yeah, 2 of them. Why am I wasting my time on a dime store putz like you when I could be doing something more dangerous, like rearranging my sock drawers? And I love how he said that entire bit with a cigar in his mouth. And then he's like, and 2, how do you expect to snap your fingers if I rip off both of your thumbs? It's one of my favorite bits. It's one of my favorite bits because, one, he busts out the cigar, which is typical Schwarzenegger, and one of the things that fascinated me about cigars to begin with. And he's using it as a prop, like completely just not even trying to be charming or cool. Just be like, I'm going to light a cigar while I insult you and threaten you and all that stuff. It's one of the more brilliant moments in that movie. I mean, it's full of brilliant moments, but I love, going back to what you're saying about cigars being a prop. It really is a great prop. And it can be used for so many different things, from, just looking cool, being a prop, or just kind of a background thing that everybody notices. I love it.
On that note, one of my favorite uses of a stogie as a prop is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. One of my favorite lines is when he's talking about Spider-Man. He goes, he doesn't want to be famous. I'll make him infamous.
Yes, exactly. I love that. No,
I'm gonna stop you right there. Just pause real quick. I just got a text message from my wife. Apparently, as of right now, they just elected a new pope.
Oh shit! I didn't check my phone.
Yeah, please do, because I'm recording this from my phone. I should have used my computer, but if what my wife just texted me is true, they elected a new pope, and he's an American.
Woo!
Yeah.
So has that ever happened?
Nope.
Holy shit.
He's the first American pope. Now, I'm getting this from a text message from my wife, so please verify this.
I'm looking.
Before we do anything else.
Papal Conclave Live updates. Cardinal Robert Prevost becomes first American pope.
I'm surprised that they did it so quickly. I thought that there was going to be a longer period of mourning.
I did too, but apparently they really wanted to fill that seat or something. But I liked Pope Francis. I really did. I think he was good for the church.
He was a great pope. He was a great pope. He was kind. He represented. Now, the man wasn't perfect, but I feel like he represented all the best aspects of what Catholicism and Christianity could be.
Well, he took about poverty. Yeah.
Kindness, patience, and grace. But I knew it was something had to be big, because I was getting all these drop down while I was talking to you. I'm getting these constant drop down notifications from Facebook Messenger, from text messages, from Discord, and I was going to ignore them, but they just kept coming, and I'm like, okay, what's up? It's just like,
Yep.
oh shit, we got a new
That's kind of
pope.
that's kind of crazy. Like I didn't think something like that was going to be happening while we're recording. It's like, oh shit, big news. All right. But yeah, that was
Yeah,
fast. That's like
yeah, right.
because I think about like when was it Pope John Paul passed away?
Yeah,
Um and it took a while, and then Pope Ratzinger was elected, and then he resigned not long after that, and then it was Pope Francis, who
yep.
honestly I think he was. I mean, when I was learning about a little bit about him after he passed, it's like when he passed, his accumulated like net worth, he only had $100 to his name
Wow.
after he died, because he took a vow of poverty, and he really tried to not capitalize on the fact that, I mean, obviously the Catholic Church is one of the most wealthy organizations in the world, among the wealthiest. Um,
Mhm.
but he really tried to, from what I understand, he took very modest accommodations. He didn't live in like the really big, the digs that a lot of popes have lived in, really, luxurious and stuff. He really didn't want to do that. And, kind of like what you're saying, he really embodied a lot of the qualities that you would hope a religious leader would, especially one who, is leading billions of people in a worldwide religion. And so, yeah, it was
He led by
the
example. He didn't lead
he did.
by word. He led by example.
Mm-hmm. As someone who is formerly religious, I'm no longer a religious person. I used to be a devout Christian. I used to, a little bit about me. I used to be a Republican conservative Christian, and not so much that like,
That's very very similar to me as well.
well, you came from Texas. It's a lot of people that describes a lot of people from Texas. Christian, conservative, Republican, and
Which, if there's any Texan people watching, don't get me wrong, I love my home state, and I go
mhm,
back to Houston, Texas, whenever I am able to do so. I love
right.
my state. That being said, there's quite a bit of room for improvement.
And it's a big state too, so that says something. But
Literally and figuratively.
gigs. But no, like, as someone who is formally religious, I'm not against religion whatsoever. I discussed this on the first episode of my podcast, which I hope if you ever get a chance, give a watch, because my former college professor, who taught me creative writing when I was in college, she went on to become, very recently, as of the last 2 years, a best-selling author. She released her very first book documenting her life growing up in an apocalyptic cult
Wow.
and all that kind of stuff, and escaping from it and whatnot. And, she's someone who went through that, and she's got a very wonderfully positive and spiritual mindset. She's a very wonderful lady. But we were talking about, like, not being against religion, so long as that religion isn't, controlling or manipulative or anything like that. I'm all for it. I just don't subscribe to really much of any of that, just because of certain experiences of my own.
The,
And go
the
ahead.
quote that I often go to, and I don't know who originally said it, but I hear it a lot on deconstruction videos.
Mhm.
Um, and it is people don't quit Christ, they quit Christians. They
Mhm.
quit that they don't like if people are walking away from the church, it's not because of the church, it's not because of the teachings or even the doctrine. It's because, at least in the case of modern Christian
Mhm.
churches, modern Christian congregations, it's a lot of people hear the word of God, hear the teachings of Jesus, and then they see the actions of a lot of people who claim to be Christian, and it doesn't line up. It's just like, I'm going to say something here, and I'm not trying to upset anybody or piss anybody off here, but again,
No, for
coming
sure.
from Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas is the home of Lakewood Church and Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen is one of the biggest uh, purveyors of what is known as the prosperity gospel,
Mhm.
which is the most popular form of Christianity amongst Republican evangelicals, because
Yeah.
it basically teaches that God wants you to be wealthy and wants you to be successful, and that if you are poor, it's because you don't love God enough. That's very basic, and there's a lot more nuance there, but
I'm
in a
aware.
nutshell, yeah. And my family is still very devoutly Christian, but I remember
Hmm.
my sister mentioning something that I said like when we were in like high school, or driving by the Lakewood Church. Lakewood Church occupies what used to be the Summit, which in Houston was a giant arena where the Houston Aeros, their hockey team, used to play, and it was also a massive music venue. One of the biggest concerts I remember reading about was 1977. Kiss played the Summit on their Love Gun tour, and it was a massive show. But so the Lakewood Church occupies an arena. A like calling it a mega church honestly doesn't do it justice. It is
No.
huge, and Joel Osteen is a mega millionaire. He's a million. Like he and Kenneth Copeland and all of these uh, incredibly wealthy practitioners of the Lord are walking and are the walking antithesis of a lot of Jesus's teaching. Jesus was a pauper. He was a carpenter, and he was never
Yeah.
wealthy. In
Yep.
fact, one of the most popular Bible quotes is, "It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy man to enter the kingdom of heaven." But these prosperity gospel people, they twist and turn that into a way. Well, he's not talking about personal wealth. He's talking about some other thing. But like on driving by on the freeway when you pass by Lakewood Church, Joel Osteen's name is in uh, a larger font than Lakewood Church. It's Lakewood Church with Pastor Joel Osteen, and it's like, buddy, what are you doing?
It's
And
like, what are you, fucking Tony Stark? What?
what you fly in on a helicopter. You own several Bentleys. What this
See,
and
here's the thing
then
with that. If I had that kind of money, and I'm not going to try and do any kind of flex or say I do so much better than him. No. I'm not even going to try and go there. If I had that kind of money, I would not want people to know I had that kind of money.
right.
I would hide it. I would so like, I'm going to put it here.
I
I'm going
would
to put it
hide
there.
that light under a bushel so quick.
It's like, I'm not going to buy a fucking Bentley. Probably the most expensive car I would buy is like a new Lexus. I actually own a Lexus, and it was only by chance that I got to own a Lexus because I had a 2002 Chevy Impala that took a dump on me, and a family member, they were going to sell their can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you. But you are frozen, but I can still.
I am frozen. So, I
Give it a
froze.
second. Give it a second.
No,
It'll.
no, I froze because apparently my battery on my camera died. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that right now.
No! Come back, battery! Hold on, buddy! You hold on!
I'm holding on.
Don't you die on me! Don't you die on me, son! Hey, you listen to your sergeant. I'm ordering you not to die. There's a lot
Yeah.
more we need from you, son.
And we're back.
Yeah,
But
we're back!
and I totally lost my train of thought because of that clusterfuck. What the hell?
You were talking about your Lexus.
Oh, okay. So a family member was going to sell it. It was a 2002 RX 350, and they were going to sell it, and they were going to buy a newer car. And because my car took a dump on me, and they're like, you know what? I've had this car for years. I'm probably not going to get that much from it, even though it is a Lexus. Go ahead and I'll just sign the title over to you. And I was like crying. I was just like so grateful. But like, okay, going back to like having the money, I would not be going and buying all this shit people could see, like visible signs of being wealthy. Like maybe I would buy a slightly more updated house, or I just update my house. Maybe buy a slightly nicer car because I've never had a brand new car, not since I was a kid, not since I was a teenager. And, you know, and that was my dad. Obviously, that wasn't me. It was my parents. But it's just like, why would you want every, and it's a flex. That's all it is. It's a flex. And it's a
I
sad
was
flex
about to say,
because
yeah, it's a flex, and it's a
it's a,
stupid flex.
it's a sad, stupid flex because it's just like, you're supposed to be representing Christianity to a very, obviously a very large and broad audience, not just in the state of Texas, but nation and worldwide. People know who Joel Osteen is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that in itself, but how he presents himself is just like, give me a fucking break, dude. Give me a fucking break. There is no one like I just being that wealthy, I feel like brings a certain degree of curses with it because it just you're in the public eye so visible and you are so open to criticism, attack, and just condemnation, especially from the worldwide church. And it's just like, dude, why would you invite that on yourself? Why?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was just thinking about this. Like, I'd like to think that if I had the kind of money and the kind of wealth that he has access to, that
Mhm.
it's easy to say, oh, I'd be so virtuous with it. I would donate and invest in my community. And I'd like to think I do a little bit of that. But to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, um, I, I, I know me, and I know that, it's true what they say, like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And in our society, there is no greater power than wealth. And
Mm-hmm.
if I am suddenly like overnight in a position where I have enough money to where I no longer have to worry about anything, like
Yeah.
I have problems go away money.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it wouldn't affect me, but God, if I'm being honest, money makes people go insane. When
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is why,
and
like, my wife and I talk about it. Like, if we were to have, let's just say, all of a sudden win the Powerball, which is extremely unlikely, but let's just say, um, honestly,
one of
like,
my
I would
favorite
want
lines is if I ever won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there'd be signs.
exactly, but like, I would first want to, like, first and foremost, knock out every single debt that I have. Second, try to do
That
stuff
should
for
go
my
without saying,
family.
you
Well,
know.
yeah, exactly. But most people don't think about that. Most people don't think about that. And it, try to do stuff for my family, things like that. I would want to try and spread it out as much as possible, put some away, pay off debt, help my family, donate to some charities. And then after that, let it rest. Like when you buy a cigar, okay, when you buy a box of cigars, you usually one of the things you want to do is let it rest for a bit. Now, sometimes you buy it, you smoke it right away. But depending on the cigar, depending on the brand, depending on the rarity, you want to let it rest in your humidor for a little bit. You just
Like
spent,
a fine
maybe
steak.
like a fine steak, exactly, or a nice wine. You want to let it rest. You want to let it sit. You
How
want
to
to let
let
it
those
kind of
tannins breathe, man.
exactly. So just like let the money fucking breathe. Let it rest. Use it when you need it. Don't go out like, you hear story after story of a person who automatically accumulates sudden wealth and they went fucking bananas. And either they go the usual coke and hookers route, which is I'm not and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. You want to know how much that type of stereotype persists. There was actually a guy. I live in a town called Corona, which is about an hour and a half outside of LA. Don't ask me which direction. I'm geographically challenged. Um, and there was a guy in my hometown, or at least within the same county. He actually won the lottery. But the thing is, the stereotype is so pervasive of people who come into that kind of wealth that there was a piece published in a trash periodical, one of those like supermarket tabloid type things, that said that he automatically went and bought a mansion and bought a bunch of
No.
coke in it. but yeah, bought a bunch of coke and hookers and stuff, and apparently like he OD'd on coke, and it was complete and utter bullshit. And the guy had to come out and say, "I haven't even spent the money. I haven't even gotten the money yet. I've been declared a winner. I haven't even cashed the check yet. So what the fuck?" And it's just like, that's so sad because it's automatically assumed, oh, he's probably going to go blow it on stuff. Maybe not. Maybe the guy's actually smart, and after he's been like announced the winner, he's going to go like into obscurity with that money, and you'll never see or hear about him again. It's just hilarious to me, the stereotypes, because like, it's like, oh, he won millions of dollars, probably coke and hookers. It's like, probably not, but okay, go off, I guess. It's just like you said,
I actually have respect for people. I have respect for people who would go the Howard Hughes route and just become a hermit, just like pay off your debts and then just become a hermit.
Yeah, I mean, it just
emerge, just like 6 months later, emerge from your basement with like 6-inch long fingernails, hair out to here, big bushy, gross beard, and just coming out. Grab your newspaper and then you just look and just come back in.
Come on, it's like, I'm actually a millionaire. It's like, okay, Grandpa, let's get you back inside.
Sure you are. And then when he dies, they read the will. What the shit?
Oh, but yeah, no, like I know we just went to, like I said, rabbit hole, but like, yeah,
that's what this is for me. Like smoking, that's one of my favorite things to do is smoke a fine cigar. I'm going to say that again because I was fighting the stutter, and you don't want to fight it. You just want to let it happen. All right.
Yep.
Smoke a fine cigar and just shoot the shit with your buddies. And I'm always a big fan of just following the conversation wherever it goes.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. So I know we kind of talked about maybe doing a little improv, and
hell yeah. You want to do some JD Vance stuff? I got my eye makeup right here.
I shall let you take a second. Feel free to go as minimal or as extreme as you like. Oh, dude, that's impressive to me because I've tried to do eye makeup when I was like doing stage stuff and performing, and I could not do it.
Oh, well, I'm not going to do like the extreme crazy eyeliner I normally do with JD Vance especially because I'm inverted right now, so I'm kind of going in the opposite direction. This is not going to look very good. No, it's just going to be basic under the eye stuff, basic under the eye.
But I'm talking about just guy liner. I'm talking about just regular eyeliner and trying to do that. I could not do it. I tried. I poked myself in the eyes too much. Now, unfortunately, it will not let me do the background stuff. So we're just gonna have to use our imagination. And kind of what I was thinking is like I'll say, hello, Mr. Vice President Vance. Welcome to the Smoke and Joe Cigar Lounge. No worries. It's okay. JD Vance is a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, 1 second.
No worries. Okay, here we go.
Hello. I'm Vice President. Go ahead. I'm Vice President and flying purple people eater. JD, I don't have the money right now, so if you could give me a week's advance.
Well, welcome, Vice President Vance, to the Smoke and Joe Cigar Lounge. I will say,
okay.
I will say, it was. We prefer a little bit advance notice because you cleared out all of our customers.
What kind of notice?
Okay. Advance notice.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. But
how long have you worked here?
I own this lounge.
Okay.
Now, please feel free to make yourself at home. Come to our humidor and pick your cigar, make your selection. And please feel free to relax on one of our many couches.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again, please?
I feel like I just made a mistake. There's chairs.
Are you recording
There's
this?
actually leather. There's
Are you recording
security
this?
cameras. There are security cameras. Yes.
Okay.
Why?
All right. Okay. Well, would have liked some advance notice. But sure, I'll find a nice, comfortable platonic seat. Um, okay.
Is this going to be weird, Mr. Vice President?
You just said the magic word. It's not going to be weird. Who's calling me weird? Why are you calling me? Stop calling me weird. Stop calling me weird. It's not weird.
Uh,
All right.
I
All right. Is it weird to enjoy a nice crafted soft leather mid-century supple curvaceous sofa? You know,
are we?
they're built to be enjoyed, aren't they? Aren't they?
Yes, sir.
I rest my
But
case.
okay. The cameras
Okay,
will
good.
be on. The cameras will be on, just so you're aware. I can't turn them off. I won't turn them off. Yeah, please
I
make
wish I
yourself at
could
home. I
turn
have
something off, if you know what I mean.
probably not, but yeah. Please make yourself comfortable. I'm going to go make a couple phone calls. Nothing you need to be worried about. Just might
Okay,
need to talk
good.
to might need to talk to a lawyer. Um, I honestly don't know where to go from there because that was.
I'm a lawyer, technically.
Technically, you're a lawyer. What kind of law do you practice?
Well, there's a complicated answer to that question. I
Okay.
practice a law known as how to properly screw people over. My
Is that
buddy,
technically?
my good friend and financier, Peter Thiel, once said, "It's always good to have a lawyer in your back pocket and in your checkbook because then you own the law."
Okay. That took a turn. Anyways, yes. Uh, you know
You
what?
seem flustered.
That's a word for it. Maybe.
Would you like to take a rest?
Well, I would like a lot of things right now, and I can't put them to words. We actually have a private room that has table and chairs. If you'd like to go back there, where you're out of sight and no one can see you.
If that's where you want to ask your questions, I don't mind.
No, I don't want to ask questions. In fact, I won't be entering that room. You can go in there with your entourage and whoever
Oh,
you
come
brought with
on,
you.
buddy. You don't want to ask me, the vice president, any questions?
If I do
I'm a
have,
Look, man, I'm a regular human leg possessing person. Okay, you don't need to worry about me. Okay, I convert oxygen and nitrogen into carbon dioxide. Excuse me. Carbon dioxide, just like any other human bipedal organism. Okay, you don't have to worry. Worry.
um,
Worry.
I'm who's worried. I just thought you might be more comfortable, and I would like to also allow other customers to come into the lounge, and I wouldn't want them to mob you or anything, Mr. Vice President, who showed up out of nowhere and drove all my customers out, and I'm actually losing money right now. So if you wouldn't mind, please, we have a private room. You can go back there and sit with well, just
Are
not
there any
here.
cushions in there?
No cushions at all.
Might be a problem, but you know what? It's your place. JD Vance. I'm pretty used to taking orders. So if that is where you would like me, JD Vance, fellow human, to be, then I am happy to go back there. Because quite frankly, no matter where I go, the Galthian Mining Consortium will always find a way to get what they need.
Oh,
It
here we
doesn't
go.
matter where I am. I will always ensure that they will have the optimum ability to mine all the precious minerals from the Earth's crust, mantle, and core.
As long as you do it in the back room.
Are you sure you don't want to ask me any questions about, let's say, my feelings towards voting rights for women? It's surprising how awful they are.
I'm pretty sure whatever questions I have, I don't want answers to, Mr. Vice President, but thank you anyway. Please go this way to the back room. Please, please. And thank you.
Oh,
and thank you.
oh,
and thank
okay,
you.
good. I did not know where we were going with that, buddy. I did not know where to go.
No, it's all good.
It
was a lot of fun to begin with. I was like, once I got into it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm starting to feel my groove right now. But no, that was brilliant, dude. I fucking love that. That was great. So thank you for indulging me in that, because honestly, I love watching the JD Vance sketches. They give me the biggest laughs all the damn time, especially like the in between the scenes where you're kind of just like looking at, whoever you're, exactly that is like just so, and it looks just like him. It's frightening. It is absolutely frightening.
No, I was actually, before we were filming this, I was recording something outside that I haven't posted yet. That my friend Colin, who helps me write a lot of the JD Vance sketches, he sent me a screenshot of JD Vance speaking on behalf of the Trump administration about the FIFA World Cup, which apparently I think we're hosting the FIFA World Cup next year. And in the quote, it said, all you soccer fans out there, come on down to the United States and enjoy the FIFA World Cup, but don't stay too long. We'll kick you out. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, I thought we're trying to like foster goodwill, and yet here you are saying you're coming here. Direct quote, by the way. You're coming here for a good time, but not a long time. And then he mentioned something about DHS and Kristi Noem. I'm like, that's not an empty threat. You're basically saying, hey, come on down and enjoy yourself. But if you stay too long, Kristi Noem will kill your dog. And it's like, the video I was making was basically me saying, I'm speaking directly to JD Vance right now. Can you slow down, man? Look, I enjoy making content about you as much as the next guy, but I'm just one man. I need time to catch up. Can you take a break, dude? Just like, I don't know, go down into a bunker and just chill for 3 days. Give me a chance to catch up.
It takes me to, and you met him, so which is awesome, Patton Oswalt, going back to his special back in 2016, not long after Trump was elected. And 2016 or 2017, it was Annihilation was the special, which is one of my favorite.
Which he filmed in Chicago. He filmed that exactly. At the Athenaeum Theater in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. And because that's where his first wife was from and everything like that. I mean, it was an incredibly funny and moving special. But in the beginning, when he's talking about how like there's too much Trump material that he can't just go on and on about Trump, he's like, it'd be like a homeless man who took a shit on the sidewalk. And I'm trying to tell everybody, like, yeah, this homeless man took a shit on the sidewalk. It's like, oh man, turn around. He just took the shit and made a sombrero out of it.
Yeah, we're talking about the sombrero now, man.
Yeah, give me a minute, okay? Give me a minute. I can't keep up with it, because if I keep going, I'm just gonna people are gonna be like, what? You didn't hear about this?
Yeah, the JD Vance sketch I was gonna film after doing this, just because, again, moving and dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, sometimes it's hard to find time to film. And I'm also really bad about time management, so there's also that. But like I wrote out a script because apparently recently JD Vance was planning a trip to Canada, but he has an old buddy from Yale, Jamil Giovanni, who is a conservative politician in Canada, who basically rescinded his invitation for JD Vance to come, saying, again, direct quote, given the animosity that Canada has towards the current United States government, it wouldn't be constructive for you to visit our country right now. So his buddy basically uninvited him to a party. And it's just like, hey man, look, it's not a good time. Or, sorry, Canada. look, buddy, I'm sorry about this, bud, but we're gonna need you to just park it. We'll let you know. Right? It's the best Canadian accent I can do. But I wrote out a script for this, and I was gonna because it has to be a script. If I try to improvise these things, I'll be filming for 2 hours because I'll
Yeah.
get a thought like, oh, I should also say this. Oh, I should also say this. Having a script, I need to have a script because I need to have a way to say, okay, this is what it's going to be. Let's get this done. But now, because a new and this isn't, it's only tangentially related to JD Vance, but now that they've announced a new pope, I've got to rewrite the ending because at least my idea is it's like, oh, they like my idea for the script, and here's a little behind the scenes look.
I feel
It was going to
privileged.
be his buddy talking to him at the U.S. Canada border saying you can't come in, and I was going to end it with him forcing his way in with like an okay good, but now I'm going to end it with like him discovering that a new pope has been elected and then taking off his tie, said this is interesting, and tying it around his head. I've got a new mission, and the guy's like, wait, no, what are you planning? Okay, good.
I love how you
Leave
end it
it.
too with just like the okay, good, and then like wide-eyed into the camera. That's like honestly one of my favorite parts about it because it's just like
I'm
he
a big fan of recurring bits.
no that's great because I love that, and most people do love that because it gives you consistency and gives you something to look forward to. It's like, is he going to do the thing again? Yes, he did the thing again. And I love that about like various creators where they stay, and some of them like go back and forth and do different things. But like, I'm sure you're familiar with Colin Metzger.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. I
Voice
actually,
Monster. Go ahead.
sorry, what?
No, I was just saying his handle, Voice Monster Edits, but you were going to say.
Oh yeah, no, I love Colin Metzger. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has this weird. It's like visually, it seems, and no offense here, but it seems kind of low quality. But the sound quality of those videos is almost perfect.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
his performance quality is just something else because like I got no read on his actual personality other than he's extremely eccentric and super talented because the guy's a musician, the guy's a voice actor. I mean, he's an actor, period, because I mean,
Oh, he's a great musician. I remember
yeah.
coming across a song that he was playing an acoustic guitar, and I
Mm-hmm.
forget what it was called, but I'm listening to it, and it's one of those things where when you discover that someone who you know is hilarious
Mm-hmm.
is actually like an incredible songwriter. He
Yeah.
wrote this song about like being a hard working man or something. But I'm like,
Yeah.
like I was on the edge of my seat watching this video, and it was just him singing into a microphone. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
crap!
Yep. He's pretty like when he takes a break from the goofy and he showcases his like extraordinary vocal and songwriting talent. There was a song he did that he posted on just his story, but he also has a YouTube channel that I stumbled on that I don't think he posts to anymore. It's called Colin Scott Music. He doesn't use his actual last name. And there's a song he did, I think it's called Lose Yourself. And it was one of the most moving and powerful songs that I'd ever heard from just like a guy who writes songs just because he can. And it was just brilliant. But no, the guy is just, I almost hate him because of how talented he is, because he's just so good at what he does.
Right,
And he can do
right, and
so much.
it's like I don't. I'm not saying this is how Colin is, but it's like you want to find like when you hear about somebody who's that talented,
Mhm.
and you almost in the back of your head, and this actually speaks more towards me and my personal insecurities, but like you kind of hope he's a little bit of a dick because it's like, man, I need you to be humanized in some way. Like you can't be that talented and that amazing and also be a good person. Come on, that's not fair. Like,
Unfortunately, I have heard reports that he is an incredibly nice man because there was
oh no, I know
another
he's a
TikToker
sweetheart.
who bumped into him in public and he was just He was just loving on him and being his usual silly self. It's just like, oh my gosh, man, this is what have I done with my life?
Not trying to be creepy, but he seems like the kind of guy who gives really good hugs. Yeah.
I would agree. He's a big dude, and I would imagine his hugs are all encompassing. So, but no, I would agree with you. But no, we actually have in common. I'm a lax musician. I know that you're actually, pretty,
I wasn't
consistent musician.
sure. I wasn't sure where this podcast was going, but I did have this guy on standby.
Woo,
So
boy, I love that, dude. That's what's it?
oh, sorry,
It's a
I
gift,
cut you
right?
off. No,
No,
no, no,
you're
no.
fine.
This is a Gretsch. This was a
Oh, that's
Gretsch.
right. It's a scratch. Yeah, absolutely.
Specifically, it is an electromatic Gretsch G5220T hollow body in a color called Electric Fairlane Blue. I
Oh
could
my
talk
God.
for hours about this guitar. It is one of my favorite instruments.
Now, what kind of music do you primarily do? You do like mainly blues or just kind of folksy stuff? What kind of stuff do you like
Well,
to play?
I play and write a lot of comedy music, but if we're
Right.
talking genre, because personally speaking, comedy music is not a genre; it's a descriptor. Because a
Yeah.
comedy song can be any genre. I'm gonna drop some names here of some of my favorite people to perform with. A guy by the name of Jake Duar. He is a comedy musician here in Chicago, prolific writer, prolific performer. Uh, um, he's a video editor. He puts out so much stuff, and he's actually produced a lot of the music that I have made, including a little personal plug here, a song that I wrote years ago. I only recently recorded called "Donald Ducking It," about the joys of not wearing pants, and I bring that up because a little bit of a personal brag here. That song it won me the 2025 Logan Award for Outstanding Original Comedy Song. Um, and if you listen to it, it's heavily inspired by Jimi Hendrix, specifically, All Along the Watchtower. It's that, I won't play
Okay.
the whole thing here, but it goes like, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but it's like, I'm really out of tune. I forgot to tune.
It's okay. I
One
get
second
the
here.
gist of what you're talking about.
But yeah, but like lyrically, like the melody is heavily inspired by a song called "Dirty Diana" by Michael Jackson.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
I love that song.
the song was originally intended as a parody of "Dirty Diana," but because I struggled vocally, it is it kind of like swims through that melody a little bit, and I
Okay.
feel like it's just different enough to where I can classify it as an original song. But anyway, that song won me the Logan Award for best. And I show it to you, but it's still in storage.
No, it's all
It's
good.
called the
I believe you.
sorry,
That's awesome, though.
tangent. But like one thing that's great about comedy music is that it requires you don't have to be an expert in all genres of music, but you have to have a basic understanding. Because there's some other people I really like. A guy by the name of Robbie Ellis, good friend of mine here in Chicago. He's from
Mhm.
New Zealand. He is a legit classical composer.
Okay.
And this man has an understanding of song structure and genre that I can only aspire to. And he creates incredible songs that's like his most recent album called The Metric System. There are songs on there in country, rock, ska, a lot of classical compositions. Um, and so, but if we're talking about me personally, I'm a big fan of blues. I'm a big fan of country. I'm a big fan of rock. I dabble in jazz.
Hmm.
I love stoner metal. Like, which good examples of those guys would be the Sword from Austin, Texas. Here we go. The Sword, Sleep, which they have a song called Dragonaut.
Hmm.
It's another good I mean, Queens of the Stone Age is probably the most well-known example of stoner metal and
I get
stoner
what you're
rock.
saying now. Yeah.
So, it's also called like sludge metal, and the reason why I like it is because it's very riff heavy,
Hmm.
and and it doesn't focus on speed as much as it focuses on like just a good old fashioned heavy tone. And I like a good
Right.
sounding guitar tone, you
Oh
know.
yeah, me too. It's one of my favorite things. I like thrash metal and speed metal and stuff like that. I can appreciate it, especially because like keeping those kinds of tempos is a bitch. Like just it's insane. Like one of the bands that I kind of have a love-hate relationship now because of their now former lead singer. The band's disbanded like As I Lay Dying. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
I am
Um,
familiar, yes.
and their psychotic former lead singer Tim Lambesis, but I digress. Um, they they have some of the most aggressive and fast beats and rhythms and stuff like, which I really appreciate. And there's other bands like them and stuff like that. I'm very much a thrash metal fan. Like I love Metallica, I like Megadeth, I like I even like Slayer and Anthrax and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like when I was in a couple of bands out of high school, I played guitar and I played bass and I sing and things like that. And I honestly miss performing, man. My vocals are extremely rusty. I can still sing, but like my breath control and my projection is just like leave something to be desired. My throat will be like absolutely exhausted after singing one or two songs. So, but no, I it's one of those things where I appreciate a wide range of music because I love country, I love blues, I love jazz, I love just about everything. There's just the things that I listen to the most consistently, and they typically tend to be alternative and heavy metal. And I'm
Well,
very
see,
nostalgic
for
for
me,
music.
yeah, like, when someone asks, like, oh, what's your favorite kind of music? And I'm not going to say that question annoys me. It doesn't annoy me, but it's very hard to answer because it's like that depends on my mood, man.
Yep.
If I'm really depressed and like not feeling all that great, I listen to some like Americana country, like Jason Isbell, Willie Carlisle, Tyler
Mhm.
Childers are some of my favorite. But if I'm feeling like amped and like cranked up and I'm trying to have a good time, I turn on Thin Lizzy, I turn on Metallica,
Mhm.
Black Sabbath. I want something that's got some good riffs to it to keep me like,
Yeah.
dun it, dun it, dun it, now. And if I'm cooking, and I go one of two routes if I'm cooking in the kitchen and I want music to play. I either listen to um, a playlist on Spotify called Italian cooking music. It depends on what I'm cooking. I like, it's like when you're smiling,
Yeah.
when the moon hits you like a big pizza pie, or tubo fado americano, or I listen to scratchy like backdoor blues from the 40s and 50s. One of the reasons
Mhm.
I wanted to move to Chicago, in fact, is I'm a big fan of like early American electric blues, and this is the home of Chess Records. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I have a lot of different musical genres. I'm trying to get more familiar with music theory because I never learned theory. I just learned learned
Yeah,
guitar and
neither did I. Neither did I. I just learned by ear. I picked it up and started figuring shit out. And I would kind of surprise myself at times, which I'm sure you've had the same experience where you're just like kind of messing around and people would be like, wow, I don't know how you do that. It's like, well, I'm just kind of move my fingers around and experiment and stuff. And then I figure it out. They're like, I could never do that. It's like, well, I don't know how I do it. I just do it. And that's how I learned music theory. I tried to learn it, like I had a piano teacher and stuff like that, and I tried to sit down, and I honestly, like during those, she was so wonderful and so patient, but on the inside I was screaming because I'm just like, why can't I figure this out? This is taking too long. Just show me how to do it, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was just like I gave up after probably about a month of lessons, and I feel bad because I wish I would have kept it up, but at the same time it was just like I didn't have the patience for it at the time.
hey, don't feel bad. Get even. Wait, no,
I
no, that works.
She didn't wrong me in any way. She was trying to teach me, and I was just being a crabby teenager, just like, Can't you just like show
How
me?
dare you try to make me better myself? Ugh. Which that kind of angsty stuff brings me to a good topic. I actually just joined a band recently.
That's great.
That's not a comedy band. It's a band called Fighting Godot. My friend Mike BL is. I've
I
known him.
saw
He's
you
one of my
post
oldest.
about that.
Yeah,
I saw
he's
you
one of my
post about that.
oldest friends here in Chicago, and he's a pop punk guy. He loves pop punk, and
Hmm.
pop punk and emo music, which are like kind of kissing cousins. Um, they could have probably found a better term.
It
Ugh.
works.
Okay, good. Anyway, he is a prolific songwriter. He's a great guy. Probably one of the nicest people you can ever have the pleasure of meeting. And I have played with him in unofficial capacities before throughout
Hmm.
the past, 12 years or so. But this is the first time that we've actually been in a proper band. He started Fighting Godot, and he was building a band out. And he put a post on Facebook saying like I'm looking for a guitar player, and I saw it immediately. Ran in. It's like, hey buddy, I want to get in on that. And I enjoy
That's
playing
awesome.
pop punk. It's not. I've never really been a pop punk guy,
Hmm.
but I'm also a person who appreciates all kinds of music. And one of the things I'm actually grateful about growing up, I oftentimes lament my age. Like, oh, I wish I was doing this when I was younger. Between you and me, man, when I was younger, I was an a-hole about music. I was just like, you listen to such and such? Ugh. But now, as I'm older, I'm like, with age comes wisdom. I'm like, okay, I understand why certain people listen to certain kinds of music. And playing pop punk is really fun.
Yeah, I'll bet. Like, well, because when I was in high school, like in the beginning, I was a super metalhead, and that was all I listened to. But honestly, I would listen to other stuff. I just wouldn't tell my fellow metalhead friends about it because they would grill the shit out of me. It was Metallica,
Gatekeeping in
Corn,
music
and
communities is just, oh God,
uh,
leave that alone.
gatekeeping in general is just so fucking useless. But
Yes.
it's funny, but you mentioned that going back to Metallica because like I was a fan of Metallica through all their various music evolution, from the beginning. I got into Metallica during the Load era, and
Ah,
which I love both of the albums, Load and Reload. I love both of them. And then the first song I really listened to by them was The Memory Remains, and I bought the album. And then I started getting into their older stuff. But I still remained consistent in that, like, I love Load and Reload. And my friend, a guy named David, who was a total gatekeeper at the time, like, I remember I
his
got
last
one of
name's not
these.
Mustaine, is it?
No, it's not.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I bought this shirt, and it was around the time that Follow the Leader by Korn came out, and I got a shirt that looked like one of those long sleeve baseball jerseys with the blue colored sleeves and the white front, and it had like the banner looking thing like Follow the Leader, almost like a team logo. Now I hadn't bought the album yet, but I had listened to the entire thing. I knew the songs from the album. And he was such a gatekeeper at the time. He's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, what do you mean, what the fuck? What? He's like, why'd you buy that shirt? I said, because it looks cool and I'm a fan of the band. And he's like, but you don't even have the fucking album. I'm like, so the fuck what? So
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
what does it matter? He's like, dude, that's stupid. You shouldn't have bought that shirt. I'm like, dude, lay off. I'm seriously, I like the shirt. But anyway, years later, because he was one of the people who would make fun of me most consistently about liking the Load era albums. And we're all grown up. We're out of high school. We're in our 20s now at this point. And he says to me, he's like, I got to tell you something, man. And I'm like, what? He's like, Load and Reload. I'm like, yeah. He's like, they are really good albums. And I started cackling. And I'm like, really? I said, did you think that then or is that now? He's like, no. He says, really, honestly, back then I thought they were good. I just couldn't admit it because of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude, they've always been good albums. They've always been albums I enjoy. It's like, I don't really care about the whole like purist bullshit where it's just like, man, I like this stuff from like Kill 'Em
Like,
All to Injustice for All. And it's just like, yeah, that's all fucking amazing. But so is the other stuff. Like, I love
yeah,
how people
like
said,
it's good to another thing that kind of comes with age, especially when you have bands like Metallica who've been doing this for so long. It's like
Mm-hmm.
You grow to appreciate, okay, you know what? Good for them for changing up their sound as they get older. You know, when you get
Yeah.
older, your priorities change. Things you like change. You yourself, I mean, like physically, you change. Like it's pretty well known that every 7 years, your body, you shed cells, and it's like your body basically you become an entirely different person essentially
Right.
every 7 years, and it's like I have respect for band like you know, and I'm not trying to crap on bands that like find something that works for them and they just stick with it. Like for example, and again, no hate, ACDC. ACDC, their sound has never changed. They have done the same, and they like Angus Young even admitted this at one point. It's like we basically make the same album every single time, but people like it. But I also have respect for bands that like the things I liked when I was in my 20s are different than the things that I like now. And so, you know, if I'm a musician, my musical tastes are going to change too. One of
Yeah.
my
I mean,
favorite bands. Well, sorry. You go ahead.
no, it's okay. It's all. Like I even like Saint Anger by Metallica, and I get made fun of for that. And it's funny to the point that they have embraced the fact that that's their least popular album, because I actually saw them live for the first time almost 2 years ago, and it was such an amazing experience. And they typically, at least from what I've seen, they only play one song from Saint Anger per show. And whenever they play a song from Saint Anger, they always say the same thing. This is a song from your favorite album, knowing that Saint Anger is their least popular album of all the albums that they've done. And it's just like they are embracing the fact that people thought that it sucked.
Well, you watch Some Kind of Monster and you realize all of the changes and turmoil that occurred within the band during that time, and it's like yeah, that's gonna happen. When you're going through all of this tumultuous, traumatic stuff while you're making this album. You're creating a piece of art.
Yeah.
What you're feeling and what you're experiencing is going to be in that art. In high school and as well into today, one of my favorite bands is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually a huge fan of the album One Hot Minute, which is the album they made, I want to say in like 94. It was when, oh God, what is his name? Dave, from, yes.
Dave Navarro.
No,
Dave Navarro.
Dave Navarro. Dave Navarro had recently replaced John Frusciante, and it was a very tumultuous record. All the guys were dealing with, especially Anthony Kiedis was dealing with, he had a relapse. He's been for the longest time, he was a heroin addict. And then in the late 80s, he managed to kick it after their guitar player and his childhood friend, Hillel Slovak, died of a heroin overdose. That was like the wake-up call he needed to kick it. But then in 1993, he got his wisdom teeth removed, and they prescribed him painkillers. And him taking painkillers caused him to relapse. Yeah. And there was a lot of internal struggle when making that album, because I'm not trying to shit on Dave Navarro, but at the time, Dave Navarro was very much into drugs. And he was doing a lot of drugs, and the guys didn't want to be around that because, Anthony especially had managed to kick the habit again, and so there was a lot of tumultuous stuff in One Hot Minute, and also around that time, River Phoenix died of a heroin overdose. Kurt Cobain died of suicide. I'm just going to say it, suicide. And they were all friends. Like I think Flea was a really good friend with River Phoenix, and so there's two songs on that album about the loss of a friend. One of which is called Tearjerker, which is a really good song, and the other one is called Transcending. And Transcending is the last song on the album, and it is an incredible song. It's layered. It's got multiple movements in it. It changes up, like the time signature changes. But there's a lot of really good tracks from that album. But when I saw the Chili Peppers live back in 2008 on their Stadium Arcadium tour. They played they played one song from that. Um, no. Sorry. I take that back. They played one song from their 80s album Uplift Mofo Party Plan called Me and My Friends. But there's another song that they do from 100. I'm getting into the weeds here. Suffice to say, they will sometimes play one song off of that because, it represented a very weird and estranged time in their career. So I
Right.
get it. But
Yeah, no, it's going back to some kind of monster and any kind of album like it. I think that documentary, well, I don't think, I know that documentary gave me a profound and brand new understanding of the album itself, because a lot of people, they didn't know what went into that, and they're just thinking, what are they doing? I remember it was funny because I remember exactly what was happening this day. Me and my younger brother, who's about 7 years younger than me, I had just graduated high school the year before, so he was like still in elementary school or something like that, or about to go into junior high. And we're in the car. We were actually just coming back from the library. We'd gone there for some reason to go. I don't know if we were actually checking out a book or something, but we're headed home. And we're in the car, and we're listening to this station that is well known in our area, and they typically play like hard rock, metal, and usually Metallica. They have a thing called mandatory Metallica every day, like in the evening, where they play an hour of Metallica songs. And but they were playing one of, Saint Anger had just come out, and I think it was the actual title track that was on the radio. And my brother, who was familiar with Metallica and listened to them and liked them, he's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Metallica's new stuff." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And both of us at the same time, without even like, just for some reason on the same wavelength, we're both like, "Kind of sucks." Right at the same time. And it was just like, wow, I guess we're both in agreement. But again, like years later, after seeing the documentary, I can't tell you how many times I watched it. I enjoyed it that much. And I especially love when they're auditioning Robert Trujillo and how that came to be.
I love Robert Trujillo.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
Trujillo.
And watching him play live is just fantastic. But yeah, later on, I listened to that album nonstop for a while after seeing the documentary. I was a pool guy, and I would always have like my earbuds in listening, and I would listen to that like all day long because of my new appreciation for it. And I would tell my brother, I was like, it's actually a really good album. He's like, yeah, you can think that if you want. I still, my opinion remains the same. So, but yeah, there's so many different albums and artists that like I have an appreciation for, that I know people that I know, they're like, really, you like that? I'm like, yeah, I like that. And they're like, okay. And it's just like, it's something that is highly subjective, but at the same time, I think that most people can have an appreciation for the fact that it's like, hey, well, if you like that, that's cool. That's not my cup of tea. And a lot of people don't like it, but it's just part of the diversity of the landscape when it comes to music. Cause there's no best genre, there's no best album, there's no best artist at all. There are fantastic ones, but at the same time, it's just like, there are things that are so obscure that I like that people are like, what the hell is that? I'm like, something that I like, and like, okay, know. So
one thing,
it's one.
no, I hear you, and I know we're kind of running low on time here, but one thing I will say that I really appreciate, and in the age of YouTube, has become a lot more common and prevalent, is I love how a really good cover of a song or a band in a way you didn't expect can recontextualize the band for you. Like, I'm a big fan of the band Tool. I've seen them twice. And one of my favorite albums by them is the one that came out in 2006 called 10,000 Days. And there's a song on there called Right in Two. And it's deals a lot with like religious hypocrisy and stuff like that. And it's a good song regardless. But I remember seeing a cover of this by a group. I want to say they're called Beard Harmony, and they're from either India or Pakistan,
Mhm.
and they do this acoustic cover of Ride in 2 with just two acoustic guitars and a stand-up bass. And you listen to this, and it's incredible. It's incredible. It is just it is, and it recontextualized the song for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn, they're playing Tool with acoustic guitars. Like that's hard. And
No, yeah.
because Tool, yeah, it's like, and it's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I like Tool. I never got into Tool. I still like my favorite song from them is still Sober. I love that song because they would constantly play on the radio, and I really enjoy that song. And
they have
you
very
know,
few songs that one would describe as radio friendly. Not because of content, but just because it's like you really can't play a 13.5 minute song on the radio these days. You
no, you
know?
cannot. No, you cannot. I remember recording a song for a school project actually when I when I was a senior in high school. This was back in like 2002. And my neighbor, Ray, who is a very prolific guitar player, very talented, still a very prolific musician. The first thing he ever showed me on guitar that he could play, which showed me like, cause he was giving me lessons, which showed me I was in good hands, was playing Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. And
Nice.
so, and yeah, he did it flawlessly. So, but I had written a song, and when I originally wrote it, it was like 9 minutes long in terms of the structure and everything like that. And he's like, we need to trim this down. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, let's move this here, cut this down. We need to fit it into 5 minutes because otherwise you're going to lose people's attention. And so long story short, he helped me make the song what it was. And it became so much better in terms of like how it sounded and how it was structured. It was just like, yeah, this is great actually. And it held my classmates' attention when I played it. And they were actually really impressed. So I was like, okay, that's
I
good.
love that. I love that. You know, I had a similar experience. Back in 2020, in November of 2020, I had a very privileged experience. I got to record some music at Sun Studios in Memphis, Tennessee.
Ooh.
And one of the songs I recorded two, let's call them non-comedic normals, songs, and one comedic song that was actually the first time I ever got nominated for a Logan Award. It was called Air Fryer Blues, but the real song, it's my Eat the Rich song. It's Air Fry the Rich.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes. I heard that one.
it is one of my most popular songs. And while recording it, at the time, I had just recently wrote it, and I wrote it to include a guitar solo. I love a good guitar solo. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like this up-tempo country song, heavily inspired by Elvis, particularly like Burn in Love era Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but one of the I got to work with two really good Memphis musicians and session players. The guy on drums was a guy by the name of Graham Winchester, and the guy on bass was a Memphis singer songwriter named Mark Edgar Stewart. And we're recording this song, and Mark Edgar Stewart again. Here's how good these guys were. I sent them about a week before the recording session. I sent them acoustic demos recorded on my phone, like in the voice memos on my phone, acoustic demos of these songs. And I show up, and the way these guys were playing them, you'd have think they've been playing these songs for 20 years. Like they were Johnny on the spot. Like it's incredible, when you because I'm an amateur musician, so when you get to be with like legit professional working guys, it's like, oh my god, this is that like it forces you to up your game. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
we're in the studio, and I'm playing the song, and Mark turns to me and says, because the solo is supposed to come in after the bridge, and the way the song is structured, like a lot of comedy songs, a lot of the jokes are in the chorus, and the chorus follows the same melody and a lot of the same themes, but you change it up and you add different jokes each time because you don't want to be too repetitive in a comedy music. It's a tightrope because you have to have the repetitive nature in there, but you also
Yeah.
have to throw in different jokes, and it has to build. You have to, build on the bit.
Yeah.
So one of the things he says to me is, "Hey, Ross, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Um, this song doesn't need a guitar solo. It needs another chorus." And so we spent like 20 minutes writing some additional choruses. And in the third chorus in the song, I mentioned, it's gather up the blood that's blue, put it in a pot, and make fondue. And then I also mentioned by name Freddie Smith or Frederick Smith, the founder of FedEx, because FedEx is based out of Memphis.
Yeah.
And so it's my little nod to Memphis where I recorded the song. And so Freddie Smith from FedEx, he's got a full rack of ribs. So we spent like 20 minutes it felt so cool. Like in the back, like I'm trying to focus, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm writing a song in Sun Studios, man. This is awesome. I'm like the Beatles,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool, man. No, it's a privilege when you get to be around talented people like that, because they bring out the best in you. They help you really tap into your true potential. And it's I've had similar experiences musician wise, doing voice work, things like that, being around other people who are extremely talented, and it just like it really brings out something in you, and it's wonderful. And I'm glad you got to have an experience like that, because that's a big deal, man. That is a very big deal. So, but man, I think that I don't think we have any more cool things to talk about, because we covered so much of it. And
thanks for sticking with me here.
No, it was honestly, Ross, it was honestly a privilege, and it was a lot of fun getting to. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As somebody who's appreciated your content for the last 2 or 3 years, I would say. And when I saw that you enjoyed cigars, I'm like, okay, I got to talk to this guy at some point. And it was once I got this podcast rolling, I'm like, okay, it's now or never. Shoot him a message, and I'm really grateful that you got back to me and we got to do this. So, well, thank you again, Ross, for being on the podcast. And I have a question for you. This is how I always round out my podcast. Who rules?
Oh, Doyle rule. I'm sorry. No, sorry. Revelers rule.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're listening or watching, that means you too. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please check out Ross's content, not just his comedy stuff, but also his music. He is on TikTok. He is on Instagram. He is pretty much everywhere. And you can see on the screen right there his handle, Crabman732. And yes, please check him out. He is hilarious, and you will enjoy everything he does. So thank you again, Ross. Appreciate everybody who tuned in, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you, guys. Okay, good.